Does it work? Oh, it does
Hello,
work.
hello.
Did you all have breakfast? What did you eat for breakfast?
The dates, the chocolate dates.
What did you have?
I had a half a banana.
Banana. Who eats proteins for breakfast? What do you have for breakfast?
Eggs and a protein shake.
What do you recommend for a good breakfast?
Definitely protein. So want to get in some high quality protein. That could be like eggs. It could be amazing, even salmon, but high quality protein, some fiber. I like some fermented foods, really good for gut health. So I love like a fermented carrot. And that's typically my breakfast, and some good water, hydration.
But you believe in having a breakfast, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think the data is pointing us to women doing a little better, like training
So
fed.
everybody listen up, because I see so many people doing the intermittent fasting and they're skipping breakfast. It's actually better to skip the dinner, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to stop eating as early as you can. I actually stop eating at about 4 p.m. at the latest.
I know, because then we go into rejuvenation. And all our growth hormones are active, and our skin rejuvenation is taking place. So it's pretty good to cancel dinner, but it's hard when you have like all these beautiful restaurants like Chez Margot. Food is really good. Food is really good, Jean-Georges. You're crushing it. Maya, it's your session. I don't know why I'm.
No, I love this. I love this. I also love Chez Margot. Hi, everyone. I'm just so excited to be here and to share in conversation with whom I call real, true life legends in the longevity space. Welcome to Longevity Unlocked. We're really simply put going to talk about the formula of feeling good, right? So think biohacking, blood cleansing, next generation skincare, nootropics, like all of these hot topics that I think, can seem overly complicated, but I think it's all about ritual and education. So we are here joined by our one and only Dr. Barbara Sturm, and we're here with Dr. Jonathan Leary and Kayla, and I think it's so amazing that, for so long in the beauty industry, I've worked as an editor. I've been able to really interview a lot of experts and dermatologists and scientists about health and wellness and what we can do to live a long life and feel good from the inside out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'd love to just dive right in and get started with how each of you really do define longevity, but not just from this lens of like living longer, but actually truly living better. So Barbara,
I want to say one more thing before we start. I really like that there's so much interest in this topic, because I think this generation now, or in the time we're living now, everybody is interested in not getting sick and living their best life as long as they can. So we want to live healthy. We want to know what to eat. We want to know what to do, how to really maintain a healthy system, healthy body for as long as possible without becoming a patient. So we want to be a patient as healthy people, going to places like the Remedy Place, or going to places like Extension Health. Where's my doctor from the Extension Health? Here, right there. So he's a great guy to talk to after the session too. But I really love that everybody's here to learn, and doing anti-inflammatory science. The root of my existency in the beauty space really comes from longevity, and tells the story of how to maintain good health, especially for the skin, where I'm like focusing on. But not only this, we talk a lot about anti-inflammatory lifestyle, but this is pretty much longevity on your skin, in your system. And don't mistake longevity and anti-aging with destroying our skin, destroying anybody for that matter. If you're drinking too much alcohol, or smoke or taking drugs or whatever, eating terrible food. But we have to take care of our skin. We cannot constantly destroy our skin with retinol, glycolic acid peels, lasers. We're basically constantly causing inflammation, destruction of your skin barrier and microbiome. Why are we doing this? Why is the industry telling us, keep doing it, keep doing it? And our little kids, 10-year-old, buying this shit, and and destroying their skin barrier from day one. So no, I love that we're all here discussing what's the best for us. And maybe you guys, you're like experts, absolutely experts in this space. Maybe you want to talk about what are the basics, what everybody should be doing in the space of longevity, and what is it actually?
And I almost forgot, because I feel like you all need no introductions because I'm so familiar with their work, but just in case, we all know and love Dr. Barbara Sturm. I've been a fan for many, many years, and it's been amazing. I love you. Dr. Barbara Sturm is such a legend in the skincare industry, and she makes products for all skin tones, but I personally fell in love with the brand when she released the darker skin tones line for women who really want to tackle dark spots and pigmentation, and I've been such an avid user of the brand since then, and you've always approached beauty from this inside out perspective, so thank you for that. And we have Dr. Jonathan Leary, the visionary behind Remedy Place. How many of you all have been to Remedy Place? It is so, it's so cool. Well, he's the CEO.
Okay, from now on, that will be like a go-to place for you guys.
Yeah, it's the world's first social wellness club, and it's absolutely amazing, and he is just a pioneer in holistic health, so thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and Kayla Barnes, who's an amazing pioneer in the world of women's health, and she's also a longevity authority, and she's just this really trusted voice for female health optimization. So I'm excited. Let's chat about longevity and all the things. We can start with sort of how you define it, just from an angle of also feeling better.
Yeah, I think for me, longevity is about actively aging. How can we look and feel better as we get older? And I think if we think about what aging is, I think it's how we endure stress. And for me, I think with health, a lot of people are always talking about prevention, just to not get sick. But I think the goal of health isn't just the absence of illness. I think the goal of health is to be able to be more adaptive and more resilient, because things in life are going to happen, and stressors are building regardless. And I think our goal is to be able to be more resilient and more adaptive. And how I look at self-care is really about how can we train every system in the body to be stronger so it can perform no matter what it has to endure. And I think it all starts with education. I know I tell my patients over and over again, no one can make you healthy, only you can make you healthy. And your body's your number one asset, and you don't even know how it works, never mind how to take care of it. So I think the best thing that anyone can do when they start is you have to start to understand how your body functions. And any way that you can learn more about yourself, the better you're going to be able to take care of yourself. And that's where I think things like functional medicine or wearables are a great starting point, so you can start to see what the impact that's going on in your body with your lifestyle, and when you're making changes, just to get a baseline. And I think in the future with AI, the benefit of AI is it's going to make education more accessible. And the more data that you have that's organized over time, it's going to be able to help you understand your body in the best way possible.
I like that you say we have to make our organs stronger. We come back to the skin here, but we need to make what we got the best version of it can be, and not bringing the future closer to us. We don't want to disrupt or damage any organ for that matter. So let's stay good to the skin. Anti-inflammation, hydration, nutrition, telomerase activation, exosomes. That's what our skin needs. Not all this abrasive stuff out there what gets transported to us with empty marketing promises. So I let you talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're living in an incredible time where people are understanding that we can feel absolutely incredible. We've been told this story for so long when you go to your doctor, like, oh, I have aches and pains, or this is happening. And they would say, oh, it's aging. Well, now we know that we don't have to age the same way, that everyone else does. And we can become incredibly vital and loaded with energy at any age. I feel better now at 34 than I did when I was 18. And I'm feeling better every year. And it's incredible because on a daily basis, we have the ability to make these changes and these choices, right? I know that longevity can be painted as this incredibly expensive, which, it can be. I have a hyperbaric chamber in my bedroom, but it doesn't have to be. It's these daily habits and these choices that we make that can literally make us feel incredible or worse every single day. And I love the idea, too. We have this what is called the marginal decade, right? So it's this 10 years at the end of our life that usually people spend in very poor health, not remembering their family members or in a nursing home. And it's like decreasing. To me, longevity is not just, feeling amazing and hopefully increasing how long we actually live, our lifespan, but also decreasing the amount of time that we spend in pain and suffering, So the fact that we have the ability to change our trajectory in life is so exciting to me.
Actually, the most important things for our body regarding longevity are for free. They don't cost anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do we live on? Oxygen, magnetism, and light. So go in the early morning hours without sunscreen, no UVA, no UVB. You can go and get your daylight in the morning and the night, and breathing techniques to get oxygen, your lungs perfused with oxygen, and then if you can walk barefoot on the ground or lie on the grass watching the clouds, magnetism, alkalining your body. I think these things are the most important things, what we can do for longevity. And if you do this practice every day, that's something which will make you live longer. And sun, for example, I know it's demonized pretty much, especially in the US. Everybody tells you sunscreen 24/7. There are so many studies out now that say that sunscreen is actually causing cancer. So be a little more careful with that because the ingredients are not the best. But if you strengthen your skin, and as we said, make your skin super strong, your skin has also protection tools for the sun. Obviously, you have to make sure I don't have a history of skin cancer, maybe also not in my family. How fair is my skin? How fast do I burn? How many melanocytes do I have in the skin? Obviously, it's for everybody different, but don't be too scared of the sun because we need vitamin D, which is the only vitamin/hormone that is produced in our body, and every tissue has receptors for it, so it's utmost important. Our respiratory tract, our perfusion of our blood circulation, our mental health, our immune system, our bones, everything lives off sunlight, and that is important. So don't get scared of sun and don't just hide, and we are not born as moles. We need sunlight.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did this morning, was went out and tried to get morning sun. So I completely agree.
I love that we're emphasizing morning sun and walking and also longevity that is anchored in resilience, right? So strong skin, strong mind, really relieving ourselves from the pain and suffering. So that's really important. Barbara, I'd love for you to kind of tell us how you think a lot of inflammation and oxidative stress can really impact our skin and how that can also accelerate aging and how we can mitigate that.
So every skin concern we have goes together with inflammation. Everything we don't like about our skin gets worse with inflammation. And inflammation we always have to get under control. Inflammation is an immune response, also important to fight viruses and bacteria, but inflammation chronically or self-induced always messes with our immune system, and we shouldn't do that. And especially lots of skincare ingredients like what I just said, retinol, glycolic, fragrances, mineral oils, they all cause inflammation in the system and especially on the skin. And inflammation causes a disruption of your skin barrier, and all of a sudden all these things can enter the skin, bacteria. But what's even more tragic is that water leaves the skin. So we have something called transepidermal water loss, and that makes our skin even more dry, even more patchy and itchy and dehydrated, and that is not an option. Dry or dehydrated skin makes us age in 2 seconds. So if you have dry or dehydrated skin or you use any of those ingredients, we have to fix it, and I know how, just FYI.
Tell us how. What are your secrets? No, everything we're talking about.
You have to try this telephone. So it's the cutest thing. Yeah. It's the cutest thing of this house in my eyes. Not because it's my voice, but it's really done very well. And there are actually people who don't know how to use that phone, and that's really scary. For me, it's scary. I mean, like, oh my God. Still, the ones who still know how to use it, they're really old. But try that after the session. Maybe it's really nice.
I love that. Dr. Jonathan Leary, I'd love for you to share with us just from a functional recovery and like holistic medicine perspective. We have so many different functions of modalities, like we were just talking before the panel about red light therapy, and there's cryotherapy, hyperbaric chambers. What do you really think is working and what's not working? And how does all of this holistically support our cellular health from like the inside out?
Yeah, I think like Barbara said, all the foundational pillars of health are quite simple. And those are actually the most important things. You know, I look at movement cures. We need to be mobile, even if it's as simple as just getting your steps in throughout the day. When I look at food, I look at anything you put in your body is either enhancing you or holding you back. So no matter what your diet is or what you have access to, figuring out specifically what you need and what your best options are is extremely important. Then when I think about mental health, I'm thinking about how we control our thoughts and how we can rewire our brain. I think a lot of the times, you know, this comes into a lot of education, but we need to learn how to take control. And a lot of the times when we start talking about things, they handicapped us. Or there's things like psychosomatic symptoms where your thoughts are causing the symptoms. So in a stressful world, there's a way to say, I'm so stressed, I'm so overwhelmed, and you're telling your body that over and over again. But what I would tell my patients is stress, moderate stress can actually be good. You know, when you go to the gym, you're using resistance to tear your muscle fibers to become stronger. So what I would have my patients...
Also, when you tell yourself you're this and that and stressed, and then you really stress. We cannot tell ourselves that. We just say, oh, we're really cool, we're all in good shape, because the power of the word, you know that theory. Yeah. It's so true, no?
Yeah, so true. And I think I would just have them rephrase it. So I would say when they feel really overwhelmed, there's a lot of stress, I would say, oh, today I'm feeling a lot of resistance, but I know resistance makes me strong. And when you start looking at all the things that you tell yourself or that you're saying out loud or thinking, you can really start changing the psychology of the brain with a lot of these simple tricks. And then I think what other people aren't really thinking about as much as our environments and our human connections. You know, environments play a major role in every environment that you walk in can also enhance you or hold you back. And I think if you start auditing all the environments you're in and thinking of how you can control environments that could make you better, that can set you up for more success. And then I think the most important is the human connection component. Right now, you know, as an alternative medicine doctor, if I said 10 years ago that human connection was the most important thing for your health, everyone would have been like, that's the most woo-woo thing I've ever heard, and that's not science. But science is catching up. You know, right now there's a steady decline. The past 20 years, the amount of human interaction that we're having is less and less and less. And it's really scary because we used to just think that that was correlated with mental health, but now we're seeing that it affects physical health. So we need to find ways to establish healthy connections and rebuild relationships. And I think what I find the best way to do that is creating routines with the people that you care about. So, you know, whether it's once a week or bi-weekly, you know, I know the people that make the most impact in my life and the people that I love so much, and I want to make sure there's always an even energetic exchange. So my rule is I have at least one activity. It could be as simple as on Sunday morning that we always have a call at 9 a.m., or it could be as every Monday morning I go for a run with this individual. But I think establishing routines will create habits, and habits turn into change. And if you can do that with people, those are the top priorities. And I always try to think, like, when I'm speaking about Remedy, for those of you who don't know, you know, the goal with that business is really just to change the narrative of how people socialize and do it in a healthy way. So you can have a date in a sauna, you can have a business meeting with IVs, but you don't need to go to Remedy to be healthy. The foundational pillars of health are what is most important. And I always stress that those are the hyperbarics, the red lights, everything else, those are the cherry on top. But the foundational pillars are the most important. And that's where I would spend most of my time and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think with the connection piece too, if you can start to try to build in, like you said, going on a run. So I have some amazing group of women. I have a couple different women that I'll work out with on a daily basis. Just being able to, you know, kind of habit stack and do multiple things at the same time can also be really helpful, because we know that there are quite a few things to do, you know, on a daily basis to be healthy. But it's exciting because it also propels you to feel better, and then you're encouraged to do these habits more.
I think we should talk about, because we all want to know, this is like this is like really great, but I think let's talk about which supplements do we need to take? What is good for a woman at a certain age? Do I need to take the B's, the magnesium, the creatinine? What am I taking? And which is the good supplement? There are so many supplements out there, shit. So let's find out which one you recommend. Then I want to say, so what I have at home, I have like a whole lab at my home with longevity tools. I have the PMF mat, I have the oxygen machine, I have a red light bed, I have hydrogen water bottle, like water bubbles for my bathtub, I have hydrogen for inhaling, I have hydrogen water, I have like all this stuff at home, and it's, for me, it's like basics to do. I shoot myself with peptides. I have exosome IV drips. I do it all. I have Sturm skincare. I eat super healthy. I sleep my 9 to 10 hours, which I really also need. But what I want to say, these are all the things I'm doing, and I have a proper set of supplements as well. And I think this is what we all want to know. And you know, the things I have at home, you can also get at Remedy Place, but I think it would be nice to learn a little more about what do you really recommend. And maybe you start, because you start about talking about the woman, because you're like very much into women's health. What does a woman have to do to live their best life?
Yeah, well, I think, it might change throughout women's lives, which the medical research has not necessarily caught up to this, right? So women were only required to be included in research in the early 1990s. So we're still exploring these things. So obviously there's childbearing years when we're menstruating. I think for women to get a pulse on their cycle, it's incredibly helpful, because we now know that there's ways to optimize. So we can actually sync a little bit of our nutrition, and we don't need to make it too complicated. Without a doubt, the basics are just eat really well, sleep really well, and move your body. But we now know that we can optimize, during the follicular phase of our cycle, we're more resilient. Estrogen helps us recover, so we can hit like our best PRs. But then as we move into ovulation and late luteal, that might change a bit. So I always recommend looking at labs if you can, because even when it comes to supplementation, there's a lab that I love called the NutriEval. So you look at your blood work, and it'll actually tell you what you're deficient in. So if it's possible, that's definitely the best, because we all have different deficiencies. We all have different diets. So knowing your own data is incredibly helpful. I love to pair that with the genetics test also. So if we know what our predispositions are for genetically, and then we have these labs, we can truly optimize. I think from a supplement standpoint in general, some things that, when I was running my clinic, we always recommended, we would say fish oil, so a really high quality omega. There's actually some great data on having...
Can I ask which is the best fish oil? Because, we're supposed to take 800 to 1,000 milligrams.
Right.
That would be very anti-inflammatory, actually.
Yeah, and
But
very anti-inflammatory.
where do we get it? Also, I find it disgusting, because it's mostly like,
They
from fish
smell.
trash or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells. And someone gave me the fish oil on the spoon, and I'm no, sorry.
And
No, I'm not doing this.
And aren't there like keywords you have to look for when you're finding supplements? Where
And then how much is in one capsule? So you get the high power one, and then it still only has 120 in the capsule, and then you have to take like 8 capsules or what? I mean, like,
I feel like the supplements world can get very shady very quickly. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on
what's
that?
the one?
Yeah, so I don't have any like specific brands that I'm obsessed with all the time, but I always recommend practitioner grade supplements. So something like a Thorn or a Metagenic.
Yeah, Thorn is good.
Yeah,
no?
Thorn's great. So you want to look for something that's independently lab tested. So we want to make sure, because we're becoming aware now that a lot of these supplements that are just brought quickly to the market may have levels of heavy metals that can be harmful to health over time. So any of these provider, I'm sure you have some great
What
recommendations.
is your favorite
too.
supplement?
I actually like Thorn as well. I think
You too, no? You said some other brand too, no?
Yeah, so Thorn is great. I also want to shout out the EPA to DHA ratios.
Yeah.
So DHA is the part of the fish oil that's amazing for your...
Everybody needs to know.
Oh, thank you. So I just want to, one of the doctors at Extension Health, and Pure is a great brand. With fish oil, I specifically look at the EPA to DHA ratios. There's a doctor named Dr. Daniel Amen, who I learned this from. But basically, EPA is the anti-inflammatory component, and then DHA is really, really good for your brain health. So depending on what you're struggling with, whether it's anxiety or depression, or you're looking for anti-inflammatories, you want to adjust those ratios. I personally take it in liquid form, and I put it in my smoothie along with resistant starch and
The
prebiotics.
fish oil?
Yeah, because I don't like the pills. They're so big.
I hate those pills. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes I
they're
swallow these
awful.
pills and it gets stuck. It gets stuck
Yeah.
in my throat, and I'm like, ah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so dangerous. Some pills are really big.
Yeah.
They are.
And
And I
they're
just
like-
want to throw one more thing out there that I think might be helpful. There's a new kit on the block called Plasmalogens, and it's hyper fish oil, and it's so excellent for your inflammation and for your brain.
And that's a liquid you put in your smoothie?
That's a
You get
liquid.
this for me, please? Yeah?
I will. I'll get it for you.
There's,
Yes.
there's some interesting data too on having a higher omega index. So this is another blood lab that you can do, but you want to maintain at least an 8 omega index. So I usually keep mine around 10 or 11. So looking into and diving into those labs again, you know, everything is bio-individual, but I love to keep, for longevity purposes, my omega index high.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, it's crazy how much supplements everyone takes without knowing if their body needs it or if they're actually absorbing it. Half of my practice before Remedy was functional medicine. Now you should be testing all of these markers to know what you need, and not just once, but on a regular basis. That way you could be a lot more prescriptive with the nutrients and also make sure that you are absorbing.
Yeah, how do we know?
Because most of the times it's just expensive urine. You know, you're just
Exactly.
you're just
so
peeing
exactly,
out.
it gets yellow, and yes,
Yeah.
we took enough.
Yeah,
So
it's
aren't we
stressing
supposed
your
to pay
liver and
attention
kidneys.
to like what we're
Yeah, what-
deficient in? And that's kind of what we should
Yeah,
target.
but how do we know that we absorb it? How, you know, how do we know we don't?
Yeah, the blood tests. And that's what functional medicine is. For those of you who don't know, functional medicine is a series of different blood tests. You can look at everything on a much deeper level. I think when most people, you know, they hear about it, like I go get my blood work every year by my primary care, that's just diagnostic blood work. It's very high level just to see if you're sick or not sick. Now you can look at every organ, every system, every deficiency, every sensitivity, gut health in a way that you were never able to look at it before. And that's what's so exciting, because I think that is the future of healthcare, because that's the only way to know what's going on. And then it's that doctor's job to then look at all the biochemistry of the body and understand how do we get everything regulated. And that's the most important way to approach anything that you are struggling with, or just to make a better version and healthier version of yourself.
So then probably the next question: can we overdose on supplements?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's fat soluble and water soluble vitamins, and there's toxic levels. So you want to be really careful, and I think just be very wary of all supplements. You know, I think it's impossible in today's day and age. I've tried so hard to do zero
Do
supplementation.
you do this in Remedy Place? Do you
Yeah.
test all this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is now where you know where you can go. Extension Health, Remedy Place.
Yeah, I think it's sorry, I lost where I was going with that. No, it's okay. Oh yeah, I tried so hard to figure out through my diet how, because supplements are made to supplement.
Yes.
And I was like, everyone's just using it as a Band-Aid to like, because they're not willing to make the changes. And I can never get everything optimal. And I did it, you know, it's been over 10 years in practice and Remedy that I just really find that it's very hard, because the food that we're eating now is not the food that we used to have.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary in America on how toxic our food is.
Scary.
Yeah.
When you come from Europe, you get stomach pain every day. It's really true. In Europe, you eat the bread, you eat the pasta, whatever. But here you have to be so careful, because you get so many problems right away.
Even when you try to eat organically, or you try to have single ingredient foods, you still can't necessarily trust what is in that.
What's interesting is at the supermarket, you can read something that says organic, but it's not 100% organic. I think it has to be
Okay,
somewhere
what's the
like,
definition of organic? Let's talk about that.
I think it's
you know?
something like 60% of it is organic. I'm like, how do you measure 60% on a farm? And the only way to actually know if it's 100% organic is the little sticker with the barcode, but they'll have like 4 or 5 digits.
Yeah.
If it starts with a 9, that is the only way to know that it's 100% organic. And when Amazon bought Whole Foods, the 9 started to disappear.
Oh my gosh.
And that really that's very scary. And also, you know,
Because it's all about the margin. It's all about money. Sorry to say, but this is the industry driven, world we live in, and it's really scary. And organic in lots of areas doesn't even have to be fields without pesticides spray. It's terrible. It's the same with skincare. Organic is not great, because organic also means you take an herb and you put it mostly in oils. You make essential oils, otherwise you don't even get anything out of it. But you still have viruses on the herb. You still don't know if it's reliable in concentration, and you don't get the best and efficient things out of this herb. So you need to have this step in a lab with biofermentation, for example, that make this herb super powerful, super reliable in concentration without any viruses. So organic, you should, for food, yes, but I would probably trust the farmer's market more. Go to the
Like buying locally or if we have access.
It's kind of hard. If I'm being honest, I think even coming from LA and going to farmer's market, and you ask certain questions and you just think because it's a farmer's market, it must be 100% organic. And not to scare people, I think it's just to more raise awareness and try to be more conscious. I don't think we're putting things in our body that aren't supposed to be there. These chemicals that are in our body.
Microplastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
LA, for example, like California, gets rained on from China.
Right.
It's full of heavy metals. My daughter, Charlie, hi, Charlie,
Hi, Charlie.
got poisoned with mercury and arsenic through aloe vera pills she got in LA. That was awful. We had it tested in a lab because we couldn't figure out why our mercury levels were so high.
I feel like what I'm hearing is we're all doomed. No, just kidding.
No, but find the best quality. That's why we're talking.
And I think we all should just feel empowered to seek education, right? And we're having these really crucial conversations because it's up to us to take that extra step, to get extra testing, to know what we're deficient in, to use supplements to enhance how we feel, but have the foundation and the free things that we can all do, like breath work and sleep and walking. I'd love to also, go ahead.
just one thing to that.
Yeah.
This is also, don't be scared and overwhelmed by the amount of things that are so scary. What you need to focus on is your health, and anything that you can do to train the body to be more adaptive and more resilient is going to make you be able to endure or combat anything that you're exposed to. I think the goal of health right now is not avoidance, because we can't avoid all the microplastics. We can't avoid all the chemicals. They're everywhere. But the healthier that, and the more that you take care of yourself, you will be able to endure it. And I think that should be the goal of everyone here in your health, and just know how important that is, because it is scary.
Yeah.
And
Have you heard of Clarify? It's a clinic I just opened in London. A friend of mine opened this. They are washing your blood and get rid of heavy metals, microplastics. So it's basically, blood washing. Takes like a couple of hours to do, but it's super mind-blowing, and that's something everybody should look into.
Yeah, I've actually done that. So there's another lab that I really like, just talking about the environmental toxins and toxic exposures, because we also want to remember that.
Where did you do it? With Clarify?
Yeah, so it's called the Total Toxic Burden by Vibrant Wellness is the lab, and then I've done the plasmapheresis at Next Health actually in LA. So, but it's really important to think about, like, how can we prepare ourselves now and understand our risks now, because these chronic diseases don't develop overnight, right? This is a long process, years. So if you look at something like a total toxic burden, it'll tell you environmental toxins, molds, mycotoxins, and what's wild is that I really have not eaten inorganic food in over a decade, truly. But I have very small environmental exposures, but I still had glyphosate. So this is just to show that it's airborne, it's in the water, and not to be like scary, but it's good to know what you're exposed to so that you can detox that. I think detoxification is required on a daily basis. Of course, using the bathroom the correct amount of times, because that's a form of detoxing. Saunaing, I think, is really, the data on sauna is incredible. And a lot of people have access to sauna, even if you can't have one in your home, which is ideal, but reducing the risk of all-cause mortality, the reduction in risk of dementia, cardiovascular diseases, which is the #1 killer for both men and women. So detoxing is so, so important. And even like sulforaphane in these cruciferous vegetables, and consuming a lot of fiber. Super important for men and women, but particularly for women for that estrogen balance. It's amazing because we're seeing young girls go into menstruation earlier than ever. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the microplastic and nanoplastic
Endocrine
exposure
disruptors.
because they're endocrine disruptors and they're mimicking estrogen. So as much as we can, I think it's this like interplay between, you know, doing everything you can to minimize the exposure.
By the way, coming back to skincare, I created shampoo, I created body wash, I created V-wash, I created conditioner because I don't want to have any of this stuff on my skin. So I'm super religious about it, and I travel with my shampoos now. I never used to do that, but I only trust myself with everything that's in the product, and I'm using it, and you see the difference. If you try the shampoo and conditioner, it's mind-blowing. It's based on ingredient science instead of silicones, microplastic, fragrances, tensides. So all this stuff. There's so much shit in our hair care. If you think what you put on your hair, and sometimes I see, like, you know, when you like make it really slick, how much product goes on our scalp, or we volume spray,
Even
hair
certain
spray.
dry shampoos are
Oh
like
my
causing
God.
cancer.
Yes, so try to take that as little as possible, and go to really healthy shampoo. Shampoos are full of we have, by the way, we have downstairs like a little shop where you can see all the products and discover. And I would really look into it. The shampoos are not more expensive than any other shampoo, so it makes sense to switch to this one. And look at my hair.
What I'm hearing is resilience is really important, right? And taking that extra step. Kayla, I know that you're one of the leading women in the world of biohacking, which I think is so cool. I would love to know, are those your non-negotiables, like what you mentioned, saunaing, breath work? Like, what do you think we should all do every morning and night when we have maybe 20 minutes of our time? Like, what are the non-negotiables?
Yeah, well, first, I would be remiss to not mention sleep. Sleep is like the foundation of health because even one night of poor sleep can, reduce immune system function. It can decrease your natural killer cells.
What do you do with the people who can't sleep?
Well, I mean, I think hygiene in terms of sleep is so important. So your wind
What are
down
your tips?
routine. Yeah. So stop eating as early as possible, at least 3 hours prior to bed. Block all blue light. So whether that's like red lights or blue light blockers, 1 to 2 hours prior to bed. Please don't watch anxiety-inducing shows or be scrolling emails because it will keep you up. You want to try to get your heart rate as low as possible before bed because, I measure on Aura, it will really improve your sleep. So do some breath work, a long walk. My husband and I take a long
Warm bath,
walk.
maybe?
Warm bath can be amazing. Sauna is also great for sleep, but you want to do it about 2 hours prior to bed because otherwise it can keep your heart rate up. So that's really incredible for sleep too. And you just want to be putting yourself into a parasympathetic state. So this state of rest and digest and relaxation. And, women actually perceive stress at much higher levels, not saying necessarily that we are exposed to more, but the way that we perceive it. And I've done a little test on my Aura ring with my husband. This man is in, he's very high operating individual, but he's in restored like all day on Aura. It's
wow.
amazing.
How do we do that?
Yeah, exactly. And then meanwhile, I'm over here, going into stress for what reason? I have literally we're made that way. We're much more sensitive to stress. So for women, making sure that you're putting into place something very relaxing at night to get into bed and use your room for only, a few things, sleep and, physical
No
intimacy,
chargers, no phone in the room.
Yeah, like no televisions, computers, things like that. And then temperature, super important. So I keep my room at about 65 degrees if you're being awoken because it's too hot. And your body naturally drops down about a degree in temperature as well. So lighting as dark as you possibly can. When I travel, I use this weighted eye mask, and it's super helpful. Weighted blankets, I think on Aura, increase sleep by about 2%, so that can be helpful too. But sleep is absolutely key. So if you don't know...
Just that women who are in menopause, they don't sleep even you do all the things because that's just a hormonal thing.
Yeah.
So if you do all the beautiful things we are talking here about and it doesn't work, then have your hormones checked. Even you think you're in your 30s, 40s, could be perimenopausal. So always keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what everyone's opinion is on this panel, but I think like bioidentical hormones for women, when I get
It's
to
a
that
must.
stage, Yeah,
It's a must.
it's absolutely, it's the
Yeah.
best longevity hack for women, I think, so.
And I'd love for us to just quickly touch on longevity from a topic.
Wait, we were only at sleep.
Yeah, we were only at sleep. So a great night's sleep, it's going to improve everything the next day. Even your discipline, your will to eat well and move your body is going to be significantly improved. Your blood pressure will be improved. Your hunger hormones will be decreased. So sleep is absolutely essential. First thing in the morning is getting that morning sun, right? And build in as much movement as possible, just low level. Walking, I take my calls on walks, super important. And then exercise. Exercise for women is so important, especially as we age. The strength training, right?
Wait,
Yeah, weight bearing, compound lifting is super
and sweating.
Sweating.
Keep sweating.
Yeah.
Go on like hikes and go up the hill. Try to sprint.
Yeah. I try to, when I do my workout programming, I'm really hitting almost all areas of longevity. So we have strength and adding muscle and building bone, super important. Then I have VO2 max. So I was able to take my cardiovascular age on Oura Ring from about -6 years to -11.5 with some VO2 max training. VO2 max, massive indicator of longevity. Also, ladies, men, grip strength, another huge indicator. I just hit 100 pounds on grip strength.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I do some serious, dead hangs and pull-ups, but grip strength, it's a proxy to the rest of the muscle in our body. So that's an easy at-home, just, test you can do, but exercise would definitely be the next one. I'll cut it short there.
No, that's so helpful. I love all of that. I just love for us to also quickly touch on longevity from a topical standpoint and all of these hot ingredients I've been hearing about. I think exosomes and like nootropics and all of these new buzzwords in the industry, and it just confuses us all. So
It's not so new to us.
Yeah.
I've been working with exosomes for over 15 years, and when I created the vampire facial 25 years ago, I was working with a professor from Pittsburgh, Professor Paul Robbins, and he said 25 years ago to me, the future is exosomes. And I thought, wow, I need to remember. And then 15 years ago, we took exosomes from a patient's blood, re-injected those into the joints for patients with rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease. And anybody who knows someone with rheumatoid arthritis knows the medication is very, very strong. It's not really helping. People are in terrible pain. And when we injected this, even in 2 knuckles, it would have a systemic effect of pain relief for 3 months. So when you do your exosome IV drips, that's really great for people who have these problems, because my brother has it too, and he gets exosome shots as IV drips, and it really, really works. So exosomes to me are one of the most groundbreaking things of today, and since 5 years we have exosomatic. Exosomatic is the black little products, our serums, and these exosomes, they're so tiny, they travel everywhere. And as I told you, I only injected 2 knuckles in the patients, and still they have a systemic effect. This is how you see that exosomes find their areas of need. So even though you put it on your skin, you have an effect into deeper layers. It's not like it doesn't travel anywhere. It's a very tiny substance. It's only 1/800th of the size of a cell, more like the size of a virus, and it's highly anti-inflammatory, and it's basically a paramedic coming in and doesn't have to go through a locked door, just can come in and heal, repair, and that's really one serum you guys should have topically. But besides hydration, if somebody thinks hydration is not important, hydration is really the key from the inside and out. We need to drink water, and we need to have the hydration from the outside. So if products don't hydrate, that's not a good idea. And then obviously telomerase activating, which is something I started when I started the brand. Every product has telomerase activator. Also in our supplements is telomerase activator, and that is the most proven aging theory, lies in a number of cell divisions. So telomerase is basically an enzyme to promote cell divisions to the maximum. Us humans have 40 to 60 cell divisions, a turtle 110, and a turtle gets to live over 200 years. So there we see how important it is that our cells stay healthy, hydrated, and have a proper cell turnover and division plan. So that is absolutely important. And that's what we do with this beautiful line, this anti-inflammatory skincare line made by myself. So this is a good line to use for everyone. I don't want to push you my products on because they're also quite expensive. But if you have like 2-3 products, have the super anti-aging serum and the face cream or the super anti-aging cream, and have also the cleanser, because we sometimes think, oh, we take those products from Sturm and the cleanser, we just take a cheap one. This cleanser is not that expensive, but also it lasts you forever. And it's so important which pH the cleanser has, because our skin is slightly acidic, and if you put an alkaline cleanser on your skin or a soap, which is highly alkaline, you mess up your microbiome and therefore your skin barrier, and you already have a big problem. Yeah. So it's really important. Less is more, but from the less, the very best. Use a few Sturm products, but leave all the 20 other products.
Ooh, I love that. From the less, the very best. That's so good. Well, I'd love for us all to close out. I think we talked a lot about the small but smart things we can do to increase longevity, to feel
I would have
better.
a question to Charlie. Is she still here or is she gone? Because also the new generation and how we as parents are responsible to teach our children early on. I think it's one thing that Charlie could quickly talk about, because you know, for example, I raise my kids on water, and I see lots of parents who give the like juices to the kids, and like, you know, they allow the kids to drink sodas. That's just like an example. But Charlie grew up with me being like, you know, living anti-inflammatory lifestyle, and I just want to know what Charlie's take on is on longevity, and what she does in her daily life to maintain good health. It's my daughter, Charlie,
Sorry, I kind of missed
who I'm very proud of.
the question.
And Charlie is creating
guys.
products. The eye patches are made by Charlie. Whoever loves the eye patches, that's all her. She's
There's
a big.
a lot more coming that I'm very excited for. I can't say what it is yet, but you're going to love it, hopefully. Sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
No, I just want to know what you do for, you know, staying healthy, longevity, because you're very into that as well, and know so many things that are maybe different from what I do. What is your go-to everyday practice for longevity?
I mean, number one, this is the reason why I got introduced to Jonathan. Thank God, because I'm very into all of this, and I think it's such an important thing to obviously put, you know, time and effort and work and energy into. But at the same time, I think what's really important is a balance. So as much as I very much try to live my healthiest life and be really mindful of, you know, doing the basics of eating healthily, of getting enough sleep, of avoiding stress, of going for long walks. For me, I need my daily steps and walks that make such a difference to my mental health. As much as I try to incorporate all of that into my life as much as possible, I think it's also really important that you combine that with, you know, leniency as well, and like a balance of like enjoying yourself and having fun and allowing yourself to eat certain things, or, you know, have a night here and there, and whatever it is. I think a lot of it goes hand in hand. And then, yeah, I think what's also really important is connection in life. For example, like talk about the blue zones. That's something that I spent a lot of time doing research on and looking into, because I find it so interesting how, you know, this is the place where, these are the places in the world where the people live the longest, obviously. And like, you know, they don't wake up every morning and drink their kale juice or whatever, you know, it's like, it's a very natural way of living, a natural form of exercise that they're getting, the community around them, the obviously organic food. When you talked about food earlier, like this is the one thing with the States that I truly struggle with so much, because I just got back from Europe and I can already tell, I'm like, it doesn't feel good, the food here, when you eat it, you know, the produce is just not, it's not the same quality. And you know, in those places that I just mentioned, you know, the food is grown organically, and they eat their pasta, they drink their wine, but it's good quality, and that just like, that makes all the difference. And I think, yeah, today, unfortunately, we're exposed to so much that's not good. But this is where I found your point actually really interesting, that you start kind of training your body at the same time to endure a little more, right? And like, do the stuff that will essentially help it put up with a bunch of that stuff a little better. So I found that approach, I haven't thought about it that way before.
Yeah, I think if you compare it to exercise, like we were saying, like you're tearing muscle fibers to get stronger, and something like a sauna, you're teaching your body how to adapt to extreme heat. In an ice bath, it's extreme cold. In a hyperbaric, I almost look at every single form of self-care as a form of stress, because it's an external stimulus that your body has to react to. And I think if you look at every single system in the body and you figure out how to test it to make it or strain it or stress it, you know, your body is smart and it learns how to adapt. And it's not about always avoidance, it's about resilience.
Yeah. No, I found that really, really interesting, and I think that's something that you do so well, obviously, with Remedy Place, where you know, like the little things that you can do to incorporate in your life, and yeah, find that balance of living and enjoying and giving yourself that freedom, and also doing stuff that will make you feel better. I also sometimes, I find it really important, I need my alone time. I love obviously being with my friends and like family and whatever, but like I need my recharging alone time in between. Like that's something, and I think it's also really bio-individual. Yeah. Like our needs can be so different, and that will impact our mental health, our you know, physical health. I think it's all so interconnected, and we forget that a lot. Our I think a lot of the time, actually, I've had issues, or like especially gut-related issues. A lot of it is mental and psychological, and I think we forget that. And you know, look everywhere, do all the blood tests. Like
Also the other way around.
Yeah, the other
that
way around.
causes all the mental problems as well. By the way, I have one question before you have your question. When I started with my whole anti-aging research, and Professor Huber in Vienna, I don't know if you know of him.
Know of him, yeah.
He's like a big guy.
Him,
but at that time, calorie restriction was the anti-aging thing, you know, restricting your calories, most proven anti-aging theory. Now we have Mounjaro, we have like these things which makes it super easy. What is your take on Mounjaro? Do you think it's for everyone? Do you think it's like for... my personal opinion is I don't want to mess, you know, I'm always also scared of stuff. I don't want to mess with my pancreatic enzymes, but obviously for people who are obese, who have like underlying insulin resistances, super, super cool situation. But what is your take on everybody taking it? Because I see like anorexic people taking it. I see young kids taking it. It's kind of crazy.
Listen, I think there's a time and place for most things. But I think things get abused, and I think sometimes people think that the quick fix is the shortcut, and it's not. And I think if you're looking at it from that point of view, I would avoid it, because no matter what, you have to put in the work and you have to make the lifestyle changes, and there's always a response for anything that you put in your body that's not natural. And that's where you really need to focus and be careful on, because is the response that could happen that we may or may not know the symptoms of, is it worth it?
I love that you said quick fix, because this is something that my mom will say all the time, right? What the issue is with a lot of skincare products and retinol and all that harsh stuff, it's a quick fix, right? And that's something I think that we pride ourselves in so much with the skincare that we do. It's not, it's a long-term result and a long-term skin health and happiness, as opposed to, okay, let me just, and I find myself often being like, okay, have a little breakout, whatever, what can I do to get rid of it quickly? But it's not ultimately the good and right thing to do for your body, right? It's harsh and unhealthy. But
yeah, with pigmentation, for example, you can get rid of it with ingredient science. It doesn't go overnight, maybe takes a few weeks, but we've seen amazing results. So we have a routine, go to the pigmentation phone or to the people downstairs. We have so many amazing ingredients in our skincare product that help. And you have a question?
A big one. What's the truth about Botox?
Ooh, good question.
Oh, we love Botox. Oh. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I love Botox, and I started injecting Botox in patients very early. That's how I even got to create the vampire facial. Botox fillers was so intriguing to me. I learned from the best people. I went to the Caratas in Vancouver. I learned from Mauricio Di Maio, who's like this Brazilian genius. So, and then I created the vampire facial because I wanted to do something effectively on a cellular level. But the Botox started too early, I wouldn't recommend. I started with 30, I didn't have to do it. I just did it because it was there and we all had fun doing it. No, don't start too early. If you have like crazy frown line or whatever you wanna fix, or you have bruxism, or you have a witch chin, or whatever it is that bothers you when you look in the mirror, then Botox is a genius way of make you smile and being happy with yourself when you look in the mirror. And it's very easy to do in the right hands. Also, Botox needs to be in the right hands. Don't go to doctors who look scary. Yeah, look at your doctor, and if she or he looks handsome and you like it,
That's so
then, yeah,
true.
go for it. If they look scary, you run. Yeah. So, but that's how I see. What do you think about Botox?
Listen, I'm not an aesthetic specialist at all. I'm here for
It's an
alternatives in self-care.
antidepressant. It's an
No.
antidepressant. Let's put it this way.
No, I think there definitely is something with, understanding how much it affects you in the mental health component. If you feel
Are you like Botox? I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big conversation, but yeah, I mean, I'm doing Botox at this point. So there's not any studies that I've seen that have shown that Botox decreases longevity. Are you aware of any?
No, I don't know any of that.
No, it's.
But it is, we are paralyzing the muscle. So I think of like, what are the
It's true.
consequences of a muscle not being able to contract? And I know that movement cures, and muscle contraction is what makes it
Lymph.
strong.
Lymph.
So
Some people get real lymph problems if you take away too many muscles.
so I think it's.
You're right.
If you're willing to do it, just dose it. I think people overdo it, and I think you just need to be careful.
Yes.
And
Yes.
You can still work on
In moderation.
facial exercises and try to get those muscles to contract, because we don't want to lose the contraction or the strength in the muscle.
Also the atrophy. So that's why I'm saying don't start when you're 30, because
Yeah.
my muscles on my forehead are atrophied. Atrophied. How do you say that? Atrophied? Atrophied?
Yeah.
They're gone. Anyways, they're gone. You have even more wrinkles. So now you have to keep shooting Botox in your forehead. It's like, it's annoying. So start as late as you can with this stuff.
And as an editor, I've been seeing the cultural conversations on TikTok and social media and the Botox parties people are throwing. And I think people are starting, young people are
With
starting
17,
Botox so early.
15. Oh, one of my friend's kids, she was 13 or 14. She said, Bibi, can you do my lips?
Oh my
and I look
gosh.
at her and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. I said to her, yeah, I can do your lip. It might really bruise badly and you won't be able to go out for a week. She's like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, dermatologists that I'm interviewing are saying they're getting patients that are younger and younger coming in for tweakments. And I think, obviously we're all empowered to make our own decisions, but I'm 32. I don't have any Botox or any filler
You don't need
yet.
it.
Thank you. But I think it's all about being preventative, right? And using topical ingredients.
No
and eating
prevention
well
with
and sleep.
Botox. This is not a prevention thing. This is what you do when you have already signs of aging.
Right, exactly. Are there any other audience questions we have for our experts?
Come on. There must be questions.
What do you think of Peter Attia's book, Outlive?
I haven't personally read it, but either of you guys have
I
read it?
haven't read it.
I haven't read it yet.
Okay. It would be hard for me to.
I think I saw another hand. Yes. Yes.
I have another one. Okay. I'm confused about EMF and then PMF mats and wearable devices. I stay away from the wearables because I don't want
To lie
more
down 10 minutes?
EMF, but I don't understand PMF.
There are so many different machines out there, and you have to be really careful which one you're choosing. So I trust Gary Brecker to give me the right one. So I have the PMF mat he is recommending, and that's just you spend 10 minutes on it, alkalining your body, and for me this is a very easy practice to do as much as I can.
Kayla, do you use the mat?
Yeah, I have a PEMF mat too. I think it really just comes down to the frequencies, right? Like what frequencies are more harmful or unknown to the body. When it comes to wearables, so I wear an Oura Ring, but I also can switch it on airplane mode. So, and I don't wear it all the time. So that's what I would recommend, is switching it on airplane mode, because we don't really yet know, we do know that like cell phone manufacturers, for example, warn you against putting the phone against the head. So I'm a huge nerd with like wearing the, wired headphones. So I think the difference between EMF and PEMF is it really comes down to the frequencies and the fields that's either beneficial or harmful to the body. I'm also a big fan of PEMF. Yeah, I have the Pulse XL at home. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah,
Do that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Free.
No, I think
Lie on the grass.
Touch grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think no. I mean, absolutely. Things like PEMF and all these more expensive modalities, they're great. It's almost like supercharging from nature what we'd receive. I call my PEMF, machine grounding on steroids. Like, just go outside, make contact with the earth. It will take a little longer potentially, but the benefits are absolutely there.
Yeah.
And
And
I-
some I walk barefoot. Only walk barefoot.
Ooh, I love that. I saw one more hand behind her. Yes.
We've just got one question here and then we'll go over.
Hello, thank you guys so much. This is very interesting. I know you talked a lot about hormesis, so like healthy stress, and there's been an increasing amount of dialogue on how that might affect endogenous hormones in women. So how do you, what are your takes on how women should approach some of these longevity protocols?
Want me to take that one? Yeah. Okay. Really great question. But again, it's going to come back to bioindividuality. So if you're a woman that has incredibly high stress levels, right? And there's ways to test that. You can do a blood test for cortisol. You can also look at your HRV on Oura Ring. But if you already have a baseline really high level of stress, it might not be the time to incorporate some of these really intense hormetic stressors. As an example, with cold therapy, when I first started, I was doing these, as I would call, for men by men protocols. And I was doing, really intense cold therapy every single day. And at the time, I thought I felt great, right? But over time, I noticed my hormones and my thyroid health moving in the wrong direction. So now I actually sync that with my cycle. So I'm doing my most intense cold therapy during the follicular phase. That would be days about 1 through to about 14 to 16 or so. And then I'm either increasing the temperature up to 42, 43 degrees Fahrenheit, so much less cold, or completely omitting it. So that's my take and what I've seen, but we're all quite unique. So if you have incredibly low stress, you could probably take more of these hormetic stressors. But I think it's important to pay attention to how you feel. Look at any biometric data that you have, and then determine your hormetic stress levels of what you can incorporate.
Such good advice. And I think we had one hand behind. Yes.
My question was thoughts on NADs.
NAD.
There are
I
some
love
levels.
NAD.
I love NAD too.
Honestly, it's when I do a full drip, my skin looks different the next day, and it's crazy to see how fast it honestly impacts me personally and just what I've seen. So I do it in injection form and IV form, but I'm a big fan.
How much do you do a day? Injection.
So I ramp up to 750. I do 750 a month. That's like one high dose, and I do 50 milligrams 4 days a week.
Got it.
I also am a big fan. We know that as we age, NAD levels decline. I believe that they decline somewhat fastest in the skin, right? So I'm a big fan. I also test, believe it or not, I test my NAD levels to figure out where they're at. And then I do a variety of different forms, from the IV drips of, intravenous. I also am really intrigued by the new NR IVs. This is quite new, but it's, one of the precursors. I've done them. It's a little bit easier to tolerate. Yeah, it's more comfortable, it's faster, it's quite nice, and I'm interested to see where the data's coming. But I've done all forms, and I think it's definitely, when I think about supplementation, I have my essential supplements that I'll always be doing. That's magnesium, that's omegas, and then we have vitamin D in there as well. And then I have my longevity supplements. So that's my NAD, my spermidine, my Metopure, my urolithin A. So that can change a bit, but I love these longevity molecules.
Love that. Yes. In the front.
Great question. There's some breaking news about creatine as of recent. Have you seen all the data? Because I haven't dove into it. So what I do know about creatine for women is that it's great. It's great for bone health, it's great for muscles, it's great for brain health, and that's usually has been about 5 grams per day. There's been some more recent research, and I don't know all the ins and outs. It's on my to-do list to really dive deep, but now the idea is that we might need a little bit more. So somewhere, I believe, do you know any of the new data? Do we need? 10, yeah, that's what I thought. Now for brain, really the muscles might be saturated at 5, but I think it's an absolutely incredible supplement for women, and I take it on a daily basis. I put it into my morning protein coffee. So yes, love it.
Ooh, yes. I
Yeah.
put collagen in my coffee too.
Absolutely. I have a
Which protein powder do you take?
Yeah.
So I love the collagen peptides by Thorne. So again, going back to Thorne, love them. So because I've experienced that I want to train fed, so I do biodynamic coffee, which is actually one step above organic. I'm really trying to do all biodynamic shopping at this point. Also, the way that they do the regeneration in the farms is better for the planet. So I do my coffee. I do creatine, 5 grams of creatine. I do colostrum, and I also do the collagen peptide. So I'm getting about 20 grams of protein prior to my first exercise bout of the day.
Amazing. Such a
I
good
will
way
get
to
that one.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah.
That's a solid lineup.
Oh, good.
Okay, well, I think we have time for one more question.
Yes, could you speak to the current safety thinking around bioidentical hormones? You talked about how important those can be at certain times in a woman's life, and I know there were a lot of safety concerns about those as it related to increased cancer risk. Is that?
But these studies are very old and they were not done correctly. So there's a lot of scarcity around taking bioidentical hormones, and there shouldn't be. The one thing I want to say about it is that you need to do your blood panels on a regular basis, and you really monitor what you're taking. Do you have enough? Do you have too little? Do you have maybe too much? Yeah. So I overdosed my estrogen, for example, and I got mastitis, and you get crazy and like, oh my God, what's happening? So you have to monitor, and you have to really make sure you have the right dosage. But I wouldn't be scared. Obviously, if there's like a case of breast cancer in the family, you're a little more scared, and you want to talk to your doctors, but they should actually give you the right advice. I would go to a little more younger doctor, a little more innovative, modern. I think the old-fashioned doctors, they will still tell you, oh, don't do this, don't take anything. But this is such an anti-aging push for you to getting your hormones back, that I would think that this would overpower like the old-fashioned advice.
Yeah, I think it's really just important to work with a professional and make sure you're monitoring at all times. I think so many people have come to me, or I've seen, especially in Hollywood and LA, people do crazy hormones to have certain roles. And once you really mess with hormones, it's really hard to regulate. And it's not you just do and then
Not
come off
many
on your own.
experts either.
No, and it take the extra time to find the right professional and know that they're there to work with you for here on out. It's not just you go once and then everything's fine. Like, you really want to be careful and monitor.
Please ask our team. We had Dr. Alicia yesterday with us. We give you the contact. She's an expert in hormones, so you can go and see her in Greenwich.
Well, I love all the questions. I love that we can talk about longevity all day, but I think it's time to enjoy this amazing hydration house. Thank you to our amazing panelists, and enjoy. Thank you all for coming.